Thank you, Sibel, and thank you so much for inviting me to this extremely exciting panel. And it's good to see that Berge started, because there you see sustainability as a business idea and a business project. Sustainability is all is what his company is all about. But let me just look at this more from a government perspective, because it's interesting. In Sweden right now we see a shift, a paradigm shift in how business deal with sustainability. And there were some really interesting studies made now in 2022, and they all show the same kinds of trends. And the first slide, or the first little square that you see up there, is an indication of what kind of sustainability issues. We were talking about climate here, but of course climate is only one part of the sustainability agenda. There's other issues as well, such as social, transparency, governance, and other sustainability areas. So if you look at what are the priority areas right now for Swedish businesses, you will see that, of course, environment is at the top of the list. Climate change is really top of mind for almost any kind of business. But it is not the only one. It is closely followed by labor rights, corruption, and human rights. So the first thing that we can see, and the conclusion that we can draw from that, is that businesses today are not only working with climate change as a sustainability issue. There are other ways and other issues that are important as well. The second thing is about how do businesses work with sustainability today? And there's overwhelming evidence that the majority of the businesses today work with it as an integral part of their business model. It's not just about marketing sustainable products and services, it's about how your very business model looks. So that is one very interesting shift in paradigm, that sustainability is integrated into the core of the business model. The other thing is that it's also reaching out into the global value chains. Now we're looking at supply chain sustainability, which is what everyone is talking about. And we had another really interesting analysis made by our exporting finance, our finance institutions within exports. And they asked the exporting companies, when you ask your suppliers for raw materials or goods that you use to make your product and then export, do you have sustainability requirements? And 8 out of 10 companies asked their suppliers for sustainability requirements on human rights, on corruption, on climate. So that is also a trend that we see. It's going out into the supply chain. They were also asked, when you sell your product, how many of your buyers are asking you for sustainability requirements? And 60% said that their buyers asked them for sustainability requirements. So we're seeing sustainability requirements being integrated more and more into the supply chains. So it goes beyond the product, beyond the service, beyond the business model, it goes out into the value chains. And what is driving this force? So we were talking about the policy ecosystem, and that, of course, is one of the drivers. Specifically right now in the EU, we're seeing a lot of legislation coming on in this area, on legislation related to transparency, as in sustainability reporting. We also see there are current legislation being negotiated on mandatory due diligence on human rights and the environment, but also sectoral legislations when it comes to deforestation, batteries. But it doesn't end there. We also have unilateral measures, such as the proposed ban on products made with forced labor. And we also see the sustainability chapters in the free trade agreements. So we see a push for different sustainability requirements that are being built up in the European market. So we asked then the Swedish companies, what is driving your sustainability work? Is it the regulation? Is it because you think it's competitive? And surprisingly, no. It's very important. Regulation was the fourth most important issue. But the third most important issue was to attract talent and retain talent, because young people today will have requirements on the company that they will work for. They will want to work for a sustainable company. And then, of course, to be competitive, and that's what we usually hear. But I think the most surprising answer of all, and that is what most companies said that they were doing, they said we work with sustainability because it's part of who we are. It's our values. It is who we are as a company. So I think that is where you see the shift, paradigm shift. Thank you. What Nina said, it was apart from, of course, the export credit and the export credit guarantees, if it is a country that qualifies for official development assistance, there are also some really interesting and innovative financing mechanisms within that sphere. In our case, it would be the Swedish International Development Agency, who have different kinds of financial instruments that they can also support this kind of green transformation projects with.